Hey there, Nick Hackers here. In this video, we're going to go over the value of adding Docker Compose logs to your CI output. So I have this example Dockerized Flask app. I'll leave a link to this one in the description, but I am using GitHub Actions to set up CI, and we're going to go over that process right now. So let me very quickly just open up this workflow file here for CI, and all it really does is it runs a run command that I have here, which I've done videos about in the past, by the way, but it installs some CI dependencies, and then it basically runs this one thing here called CI test. And if we take a quick look here at the run script at the bottom, here's those two functions here. One, it just installs shell check, and another wait until script, which I've made videos about in the past. That's basically running over here. But this CI test function, what does it do? Well, it just lints a couple of run scripts here, or shell scripts specifically, lints a Docker file, makes sure we have an env file, runs a Docker Compose build, it ops things in the background, it waits until the database is ready to go. Let's skip this because this is going to be the focus of this video here. But yeah, it just lints the code base, makes sure that all the formatting is good to go. This is very Python specific. It's using Black and Flake8 for these two different tools here, but you could have different tools run for basically any other programming language that supports those things. Then we do a DB reset, make sure that the database is all set up correctly with the correct users and database migrations are all run, blah, 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 blah. And then we just run our test suite and everything is good to go. And then the output of running that, you would see if you're using GitHub Actions, you can just go to this Actions tabs over here. And let's take a look at this one before we take a look at this one, because yeah, that will be the focus of what we're about to add, or basically it's already been added. But we can see here and go to the CI workflow for test, click into test here. And if we scroll down to the very bottom here, or roughly the bottom-ish, we can start seeing all sorts of things were run, right? Like the Docker Compose build happened, and now we're just pulling down Postgres and Redis, and then eventually it is going to create some containers here. The wait until script is going to run, throw some errors until Postgres is ready. This is totally expected. Then Black is going to be like, hey, by the way, nothing needs to be changed. Your code is formatted all correctly. There's no errors with Flake8 when it comes to linting. Then our tests are going to run. We're going to get some warnings because certain things need to be updated here. Nothing I can do too much over here because it's for external dependencies. But in the end, all the tests pass and we get, everything is good to go. It took a minute and a half and we're done. And this is really good, right? No problem whatsoever. Okay, great. Except when you actually have problems. So the reason why I decided to consider adding Docker Compose logs to the output of CI is because of what happened to me a couple of days ago. So a few days ago, I was working on a project where, and I'm sure maybe some similar things have happened to you in the past too, where you run your application locally and everything works. You can run your Docker Compose up, or maybe it's not in Docker, I guess not really important, because you can technically write out logs without Docker. But yeah, you have your project in development, it's totally working fine, but then you push it up to CI and things just break. And what happened to me was, this step here where it tried to basically just run the Docker Compose up -D here in the background, containers were getting created, the application tried to start up, but then I just got a single line error that said web container unable to start, or basically something like that, right? The project or the web server specifically just couldn't start up. And I had no idea why, because there was no output in CI that said anything other than, the container didn't start. And that basically was just a one-liner that came back from Docker Compose. And it took a couple of minutes of playing around locally and just trying to understand what happened. And what I ended up doing was temporarily, I just created a new commit where I actually added the Docker Compose logs command here in the file. It wasn't this repo specifically. I can't show that because it's for client work, but it's the same exact effect here, literally using the same exact run script there because it is an example Flask application. But I also have examples for other ones as well. You can just replace Flask with Rails, Django, Phoenix, and Node as well. But anyways, not the focus of this video. But yeah, I commit this here with a commit message of something like, temporarily add Docker Compose logs to debug CI or something like that. And then I reran, the pipeline kicked in because I commit that up. And we would get new output that looks more similar to what we're about to see in a second here. If I click into test here, and then I scroll down, we can see, there's our test all finishing, blah, 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 everything is good to go. But we have a lot more information here, which is very, very nice. So, here's the containers being created that we saw before, here's wait until working until we get a database. But now we've got all of this juicy log output over here, right? We can see all sorts of output from Postgres saying that, hey, kind of need to set up a new database here because it's a fresh CI system that is good to go. Eventually, we can see also that Unicorn or Web App Server is now running successfully on port 8000. Everything is good to go. Nothing looks out of the ordinary. And we can also see, Redis has started, or we get some information about Redis. We can see basically, everything is running and everything is good. And in my case the other day, specifically when I added this, I actually saw like, this didn't happen because gRecord didn't start. Instead, I got a really nice stack trace from Python that said module not found, and then the path to the file name. And yeah, so that was a really interesting thing. And as soon as I saw that error message, I knew exactly what happened because, hey, who would have known, like actually seeing the output of variables or stack traces or whatever can actually help really debug something very quickly. So what happened was, for me specifically, was, well, if you've watched some of my videos in the past, I really like using git add-p to commit files because it's really nice just to see, or stage files, I should say, it's really nice to see what's about to change. You can choose if you want to add something or maybe split it or, make really nice git commit messages. And actually, I can demonstrate this now. So if I touch something like cool, like a new file here, and I do a git add-p, and oh, by the way, I'm going to have to blur this one. It's nothing crazy, but this is just some temporary stuff I was screwing around with that I'm never going to commit back to the repo. I should probably revert that. But anyways, I'm going to skip staging that. And then look at that. It just finished, like done. It has no idea that that cool file exists because if I run a git status here, we will see that, yeah, there's an untracked file cool. And when you do a git add-p, it does not take into account for untracked files. Like those will just not be added. So yeah, once I saw that error message saying the module wasn't found because I was introducing a new file that had a module in it, then, the light bulb went off and it was like, oh, you know what? I forgot to commit the file when I pushed it. And lo and behold, when I went to the project and I did git status, yep, there was an untracked file for the thing I needed to do. And then, I just did git add-all or, the path to the file, like either one would work. And I commit the file and then I pushed it up to CI and it worked immediately. And, then I actually thought to myself, like, why not just keep the Docker logs in there all the time? So typically for a lot of different services like GitHub and GitLab and even Bitbucket as well, they typically charge for build minutes in CI, not necessarily like log output. So, maybe there's some like hidden pricing I haven't looked into didn't look into too deeply here, but having a couple extra 100 lines of output here or 100, whatever the lines is, like it's not adding anything to your bill. So I figured like, why not just keep Docker logs in here permanently? Because that actually would have saved me about 10 minutes of debugging. Like that's about the time it took me to, temporarily add the git log message, figure out what the heck is even going on, run some local tests, blah, 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 blah. Before I even did this, I went as far as going back to this run script over here. I even went as far as like executing this command locally on my DevVox and it like still worked, but it didn't work in CI. Like, wow, there's a lot of things going on where I was like just scratching my head, waiting to try to figure out what happens. But yeah, just having Docker logs here immediately would have solved the problem instantly. Like I would have saw that and, that light bulb moment when it came in, 5-6 seconds instead of 10 minutes. So yeah, that's why now if you take a look here at this workflow here, add Docker compose CI logs, that's something I've now added to all my example Docker Flask apps. And, this client work that I'm working on now, like, it is now also in here permanently. And yes, it's very nice to have. So let me know in the comments below if you're going to be adding this to your CI setup. And technically, it also works without using Docker as well. You can just run whatever commands you would need to run to see your log outputs for whatever you're using. And with that said, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up because it really does help a lot. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you in the next video.